In the wide galaxy, humans were almost invisible. To most alien powers, Earth was a quiet blue planet at the edge of a spiral arm. The great councils of the galaxy had measured human ships, their colonies, and their science. They decided humans were not a threat. They believed Earth could only trade, send workers, and learn slowly from others. Alien empires judged power by the size of fleets, the number of colonies, and the strength of weapons. By these measures, humanity looked small. A few dozen colonies, some mining stations, and only light warships guarded their borders. Compared to the Zoroth Empire or the tall fleets of the Kuruun, humanity was weak. So the galaxy placed Earth at the bottom of importance. But humans remembered history. They remembered how often they had been underestimated even on their own planet. Centuries earlier, small nations had stood against larger ones. People with little had resisted those with much. Humans carried that same spirit into the stars. On the surface, Earth accepted the role of a minor world. Beneath the surface, plans were forming. In deep oceans, far below where satellites could scan, shipyards grew in silence. Submerged under layers of water and protected by thick steel domes, massive factories built hulls larger than anything seen in public space docks. Engineers worked night and day, hidden from all eyes. Every bolt they placed and every circuit they welded went into ships that no alien even guessed existed. On the far side of the moon, secret hangars opened only at night when Earth was turned away from alien sensors. There, fighters and stealth scouts were tested. Pilots trained without speaking to outsiders. Their voices were quiet, their eyes focused, for they knew their work was not for today but for tomorrow. The galaxy saw human diplomats smiling and shaking hands. They saw light frigates escorting cargo ships. They believed this was the full measure of human strength. They were wrong. The truth was that humanity had built two faces. One was for the galaxy to see, soft and harmless. The other was hidden in shadows, sharp and waiting. Commander Lewis was among the few who knew the truth. He had served in the official fleet where ships were old and supplies were short. To most, it looked like humans were just trying to keep up. But he had been invited to the deep ocean docks once, shown only a glimpse of the hidden power. He remembered standing in the dark as a massive warship rose from the water, its engines rumbling like a storm. The sight had stayed in his mind, reminding him that Earth was not as weak as others thought. Still, patience was important. Humanity could not reveal its power too soon. If the alien empires discovered the Armada before it was ready, they would join together to crush Earth. So leaders agreed to stay quiet. They let the galaxy believe the story of weakness. Ordinary colonists did not know the full truth. They only saw that their lives were sometimes hard. On Mars, settlers worked in red dust to build domes. On Europa, miners cut ice to reach hidden oceans. Many complained that Earth should demand more respect in the Council of Worlds. But leaders kept their silence, even as frustration grew. The Zoroth Empire, powerful and proud, often reminded Earth of its place. Their ambassadors called humans latecomers and learners. They laughed at the small ships Earth sent to gatherings. Other species joined the laughter. To them, humanity was just a background player, nothing more. But among themselves, human officers spoke differently. They gathered in secret rooms where maps stretched across walls. They studied every alien ship design they could find. They learned how the Zoroth fought, how the Kuruun formed fleets, and how the Drakil moved across trade lanes. Knowledge was power, and humans collected it piece by piece. In one meeting, Commander Lewis told his officers that patience would one day give way to action. "We are not weak," he said firmly. "We are preparing. They see only what we want them to see. When the time comes, we will not be forgotten. We will be remembered." The room was silent after his words, not out of fear but out of respect. The officers knew what was at stake. If the galaxy continued to underestimate humans, it would be to humanity's advantage. The longer the lie lived, the stronger Earth became. So Earth kept smiling at the councils. Their leaders signed trade agreements and bowed politely when mocked. Their fleets looked small, their colonies looked fragile. The galaxy nodded and turned away, believing the matter settled. Humanity was no threat. Humanity was too weak. Yet hidden deep under water, under rock, and under silence, the war armada grew. The galaxy could not see it. The galaxy could not measure it. The galaxy could not imagine it. And that was exactly what humans wanted. Humanity was the forgotten species, but not for long. Commander Lewis stood on the bridge of a human cruiser that looked ordinary to alien eyes. Its hull was plain gray, its weapons seemed light, and its engines left a visible trail. To the galaxy, it was just another patrol ship. But Lewis knew the truth. Inside, the ship carried hidden scanners and advanced tracking systems that had been tested in secret shipyards. Every voyage was more than a patrol. It was an observation mission. Humans understood that to survive, they needed to learn. So the fleet had two duties. One was to keep trade routes safe and make aliens believe humans were weak but willing to cooperate. The other was to watch, record, and study. For every alien ship that passed by, the scanners took notes. For every battle fought in distant space, human spies gathered reports. The information was priceless. Lewis often reminded his crew that knowledge was their strongest weapon. Every movement we record, every pattern we see, gives us an edge, he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes carried fire. We may not look strong now, but we are building strength in silence. Aliens laughed at human escorts during trade missions. A Zorath captain once told Lewis in open channels that his ship looked like a toy. The crew heard the insult, but none replied. They kept working, their faces steady. They knew they carried secrets the Zorath would never believe. Far from the public eye, human scouts explored dangerous regions. They traveled into zones where empires fought and clashed. The scouts did not fight. Instead, they hid behind asteroids and used stealth to observe. They studied how alien weapons fired, how shields broke, and how fleets moved. Reports flowed back to Earth and were stored in hidden vaults. Every small detail was added to the great plan. Earth itself played its role well. Leaders sent diplomats who spoke softly and smiled politely. They agreed to almost everything, giving the galaxy the picture of a harmless world. But the truth was different. Each trade deal, each peace agreement, bought humanity more time. And time was exactly what Earth needed. On Mars, training camps were built far from the main colonies. Recruits drilled under strict silence. They practiced boarding maneuvers, space combat, and emergency repairs. They did not wear bright flags or display ranks that aliens could see. Their uniforms were plain, their ships unmarked. To the galaxy, these camps did not even exist. Lewis himself traveled often between colonies, always under cover of routine patrols. He met with other commanders who shared the same mission. In small groups, they exchanged reports and studied charts. They never carried digital records that could be stolen. Instead, they memorized information and passed it face to face. In this way, humanity built a living library of alien knowledge. The Zorath, meanwhile, kept pressing against human colonies. Their warships moved closer, their ambassadors made sharper demands. They thought Earth was too scared to resist. In truth, their actions only gave humans more to study. Each move revealed their pride, their speed, and their weaknesses. Colonists often asked why Earth did not fight back more strongly. On Europa, a miner named Daniel spoke to Lewis during a supply visit. "Why do we always bow to them?" Daniel asked with frustration. "They mock us, they take our resources, and still we smile. Where is our pride?" Lewis placed a hand on his shoulder. "Our pride is in patience," He answered. We let them think we are weak, because one day they will see the truth. When that day comes, our patience will be our victory. Daniel did not fully understand, but he nodded. He saw the calm in Lewis's eyes and felt the weight of hidden confidence. That was enough to quiet his anger, at least for the moment. The Galaxy Council gatherings showed the game clearly. When human delegates arrived with small escort ships, alien leaders laughed openly. The Zoroth especially enjoyed mocking Earth. They said humans should focus on farming and trading, leaving war to stronger species. Human leaders smiled, bowed, and agreed with polite words. Yet as they returned home, their hidden scouts reported another round of alien fleet movements, carefully recorded and added to the growing archive. By now, human leaders knew more about alien fleets than the aliens knew about themselves. They knew which admirals preferred speed, which fleets were weak in defense, and which supply routes were vulnerable. It was a great web of knowledge, and humans stood quietly at its center. Lewis often thought about the future during long hours on the bridge. He looked out at the stars and imagined a hidden armada rising from the oceans, from the far side of the moon, from the asteroid shipyards where no alien eyes could see. He imagined the look on alien faces when they realized the truth. That day was not yet here, but he felt it drawing closer. The Silent Watch was humanity's shield. Every patrol, every quiet mission, every patient smile was part of the plan. The galaxy thought humans were harmless, but humans knew better. The time would come when silence would end and the Armada would speak. And when that happened, no one in the galaxy would laugh at Earth again. The Zoroth Empire was not only strong, it was also ambitious. For years they had grown by taking smaller colonies and forcing weaker species to pay tribute. Their fleets were large, their admirals proud, and their leaders believed no one could stand against them. To the Zoroth, humans were easy prey, another quiet species ready to bow. At first, their demands were small. They asked for trade routes through human colonies. They wanted access to fuel and minerals. Human leaders agreed, smiling politely. The Zoroth saw this as weakness. They believed Earth would never resist, so they asked for more. Soon they demanded control of mining stations and claimed certain human outposts belonged to them. To the galaxy, this was expected. Many alien powers whispered that Earth should surrender and avoid trouble. They thought resistance would only lead to destruction. Yet inside hidden councils on Earth, human leaders already knew what was happening. They had predicted this long ago. The more the Zoroth pressed, the more they revealed their nature. And every move they made gave humans a reason to finish preparations. On the colony world of Haven, settlers built strong walls around their domes. At first these defenses looked simple, but beneath the ground were hidden energy shields powered by reactors that the Zoroth knew nothing about. On Titan, engineers completed underground bunkers filled with advanced weapons that had never been shown to outsiders. From the outside, these colonies still looked fragile, but inside they were ready to surprise anyone who attacked. Commander Lewis traveled to several of these colonies to inspect progress. He walked through the dusty corridors of Haven, speaking with builders who worked in silence. Every bolt you place matters, he told them. One day, this work will save lives. The settlers nodded. They were tired, but their eyes showed determination. Meanwhile, far across the stars, the Zoroth gathered fleets. Their admirals spoke proudly of crushing Earth in one swift strike. They did not know humans had been watching every movement. Scouts in stealth ships recorded the routes of supply convoys and measured the speed of Zoroth destroyers. The information flowed back to Earth, where analysts studied it day and night. The galaxy believed humanity was slow and weak. But in secret, humans were fast learners. Each new battle fought between other species gave them lessons. They saw mistakes, they saw victories, and they copied what worked. Human minds worked together with an intensity aliens did not expect. In one hidden shipyard near Neptune, engineers completed a new type of warship. Its hull was thick, its weapons powerful, yet no record of it appeared in any alien archives. It was kept hidden under cloaking nets, its engines quiet, until the day it would be called. Dozens more like it were being built in silence. The Zoroth thought humans owned only small frigates, but the truth was very different. Among the colonies, rumors began to spread. Settlers whispered that Earth had secret ships, though they had never seen them. Some laughed at the idea, thinking it was just a story to give people hope. But others believed. They noticed how calm the commanders were, how confident the officers looked even when the Zoroth threatened them. That calmness gave courage to many. On Europa, a group of miners asked Commander Lewis if the rumors were true. They wanted to know if Earth really had hidden strength. Lewis only gave a small smile and said, "When the time comes, you will see. Until then, patience is our shield." His words spread quickly, and though no proof was given, the hope of a hidden power gave the colonists new strength. The Zoroth, however, mistook this patience for fear. They became bolder. Their ships entered human space more often. They took supplies from traders and forced colonies to pay unfair taxes. Every insult and every act of pressure only added fuel to the storm that was forming quietly. In the Council of Worlds, Zoroth ambassadors demanded that humans hand over 2 more colonies. Other alien leaders stayed silent, unwilling to challenge the Empire. The human ambassador bowed, thanked the council, and returned home. To outsiders, it looked like surrender again. But inside hidden war rooms on Earth, commanders marked the moment. The line had been crossed. Commander Lewis stood before a group of officers and spoke firmly. "The galaxy thinks we will bend forever. The Zoroth believe we are too weak to stand. But we have prepared. Every insult they give us, every step they take into our space, only brings them closer to the day when truth will be shown. And on that day, they will regret underestimating us." The officers nodded. They had been waiting for this moment. The Armada was not yet fully complete, but the preparations were close enough. All that remained was for the Zoroth to make their final mistake. The galaxy still laughed at Earth, still called humans latecomers and learners. But in the silence of hidden shipyards, engines warmed. In the shadows of colonies, weapons waited. Humanity was no longer only watching. They were preparing to rise. The threat of the Zoroth was growing, but so was the strength of Earth. The galaxy had no idea that soon the quiet blue planet they ignored would reveal a storm greater than any of them had imagined. The Zoroth finally grew tired of waiting. They believed the time had come to break Earth's will. Their fleets gathered along the border of human space, shining with the power of hundreds of warships. Admirals spoke with pride, saying the attack would be easy. To them, humans were only pretending to stand tall. They thought one strike would be enough to bring Earth to its knees. The first target was a small colony on the edge of human territory. The colony had only a few thousand settlers and a handful of defense ships. To the galaxy, it looked weak and unimportant. The Zoroth chose it as an example, believing that crushing it would frighten the rest of humanity. Commander Lewis was not there when the Zoroth fleet arrived, but he had prepared the outpost months earlier. Beneath the surface of the colony, hidden turrets powered by fusion reactors were waiting. In orbit, what appeared to be small cargo platforms were in truth disguised defense stations. The settlers knew to stay calm, even as alien ships darkened their skies. The Zoroth sent a message to the colony governor, demanding surrender. They expected fear, panic, and a quick agreement. Instead, the governor spoke firmly. "This colony is part of Earth. We will not surrender." His voice echoed across the command halls of the Zoroth fleet. The admirals laughed, then ordered the attack. Bright beams struck the colony's shields, but instead of collapsing, the shields held strong. The Zoroth were surprised. They had not expected such advanced defenses. As they pushed harder, hidden turrets rose from the ground, firing streams of energy into the sky. Several Zarath fighters were destroyed in the first minutes, shocking their commanders. In orbit, the disguised cargo stations opened to reveal heavy cannons. They fired in unison, tearing into Zarath cruisers that had believed they faced no threat. The battle quickly became chaotic. The Zarath had numbers, but the humans had planning. Every weapon was hidden until the right moment, and every strike hit with precision. News of the fight spread quickly through human space. Colonists listened to broadcasts as they heard that the small outpost had resisted. Many were filled with hope, while the Zarath were filled with confusion. How could humans, the so-called weak species, fight with such skill? Commander Lewis soon arrived with a small fleet to support the colony. His ships were officially listed as light patrols, but they carried hidden upgrades. When the Zarath saw his fleet appear, they believed victory was easy. Yet when the battle began, Lewis's ships moved faster than expected, their weapons cutting through enemy shields with strange precision. Every strike revealed that humans had learned much from their years of silent watching. Still, the fight was not simple. The Zarath pushed hard, and human ships took damage. Several colonies nearby feared the attack would spread to them. Yet Lewis held firm. He ordered his fleet to strike supply ships first, cutting the Zarath lines. Without supplies, the alien fleet began to weaken. One by one, their ships fell back. After hours of battle, the Zarath finally retreated. They left behind wreckage and wounded pride. The colony had survived. Humanity had not only defended but had struck back with strength the galaxy did not expect. In the Council of Worlds, the news caused a storm. Alien leaders whispered to one another. Some were shocked, some were worried, and some were curious. Could it be that humans were stronger than they had believed? The Zarath tried to claim the loss was only a mistake, blaming poor commanders. But the whispers continued. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated quietly. Leaders did not want to reveal too much too soon. They knew the real Armada was still hidden, not yet ready to be shown. Still, the success at the outpost proved the plan was working. Humans could resist, and they could win. Commander Lewis stood with his officers after the battle, looking out at the stars. This was only the beginning, he said. They think this was luck, or chance. Let them believe it. The truth will come later, when they finally see who we really are. His officers agreed. They knew the Zarath would not stop after one failure. They would come again, stronger, angrier, determined to crush Earth. But humans were ready. Every battle would teach more, and every strike would bring them closer to the great reveal. Among the colonies, hope grew. Settlers who once feared the Zarath now whispered about hidden power. Children drew pictures of strong human ships, and miners worked harder, believing their effort built something greater. Even those who had doubted began to feel pride. The Zarath had thought the first strike would break humanity. Instead, it showed the galaxy that humans were not as weak as they seemed. The Empire believed it could frighten Earth into submission, but it had only awakened a quiet storm. And the storm was just beginning to rise. The Zarath Empire was furious. Their first strike had failed, and the news of their defeat spread faster than they could control. Other alien powers began to whisper. Some laughed quietly, some grew uneasy, and others started to wonder if Earth was hiding more than it showed. The Zarath tried to cover their shame by preparing a larger assault, but their confidence had been shaken. Meanwhile, Earth planned carefully. Leaders knew the time for silence was ending. For years they had allowed the galaxy to think of them as weak, but now the truth had to be shown. The Armada that had been hidden in oceans, on the moon, and in secret shipyards was finally ready. Commander Lewis was called to Earth for a meeting with the highest council. Inside a dim room, maps of the galaxy shone across the walls. Admirals and generals spoke of the moment that was coming. The galaxy doubts us still, one admiral said. They think the outpost victory was only luck. If we wish to survive, they must see the truth with their own eyes. Lewis agreed. The Zoroth will come again with a greater force. If we remain quiet, others may join them. But if we reveal our strength at the right place and time, the galaxy will understand that humanity cannot be ignored. The right place soon arrived. The Council of Worlds announced a grand gathering on a neutral planet. All major powers were invited, including Earth. The Zoroth planned to use this council to shame humans again, to mock them in front of every species. But Earth saw an opportunity. It was the perfect stage for the great reveal. When the day came, the gathering halls of the council were filled with alien leaders. The chambers glittered with banners and colors from 100 worlds. Delegates spoke in many voices, but all turned quiet when the Zoroth entered. Their tall figures walked proudly, their armor shining, their words sharp. They declared that Earth was a weak world pretending to be strong. They demanded the council place restrictions on human colonies. The room echoed with their arrogance, and many aliens nodded in agreement. When the humans entered, they looked small in comparison. Their escort was only a single frigate, plain and unimpressive. Alien leaders laughed softly, shaking their heads at the sight. To them, this confirmed the Zoroth's words. But Commander Lewis sat calmly among the human delegates. He listened to the insults without a word. His face showed no anger, only patience. Then, when the Zoroth finished their long speech, Lewis stood. His voice was steady and clear. For too long, the galaxy has judged us by what we allowed you to see. You believed we were weak. You believed we could not stand. Today, you will see the truth. He raised his hand in signal. At first, nothing happened. The chamber was filled with silence, then with laughter from the Zoroth. But outside in orbit, the sky began to change. From behind the shadow of the nearby moon, massive shapes emerged. One by one, colossal warships appeared, their hulls gleaming with dark metal, their engines burning with steady light. These were not the small frigates the galaxy knew. These were ships of war, larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever shown before. The aliens in the council chambers rushed to the windows. Their voices turned from laughter to shock. More ships appeared, dozens of them, forming lines across the sky. Each ship was armed with weapons never seen before by alien eyes, weapons designed from years of study and hidden work. The human armada had finally been revealed. The Zoroth stood frozen. Their proud faces turned pale with disbelief. They had thought humanity's power ended with small patrol ships. Now they saw fleets greater than their own, fleets that had been hidden in silence all these years. Lewis spoke again, his voice echoing across the chamber. We did not build this to conquer. We built this to survive. We built this because you underestimated us. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not silent. We are here, and we will not be forgotten. No one laughed now. Even the strongest alien leaders stared in awe. The Kuruon, who had once mocked Earth, whispered to one another. The Drakil, who had doubted, now looked uneasy. Every power in the room realized the galaxy had changed in that moment. Outside, the human armada held position, not firing, not threatening, only showing itself. Yet its presence was louder than any weapon. The galaxy could no longer deny what stood before them. Earth had risen, and the time of underestimation was over. Back on Earth, broadcasts carried the images across every colony. Settlers who had worked in silence for years wept with pride. Children pointed at the screens, shouting with joy. The hidden truth was now open to all. Humanity was no longer the forgotten species. The Zoroth tried to speak, but their voices shook. Their arrogance was broken. Their enemies in the galaxy began to doubt them, and their allies began to step back. The reveal had not only shattered their pride but also their influence. Commander Lewis stood tall in the council hall, his eyes steady. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the Armada, but soon they would feel its strength in battle. The time of waiting was over. Humanity had revealed its hand, and nothing would ever be the same again. After the great reveal, the galaxy could not ignore humanity any longer. Every species knew that Earth had been hiding power beyond imagination. The Zoroth, once proud and confident, now felt fear creeping into their ranks. Other alien empires began to question their alliances. The balance of power had shifted, and humans were no longer underestimated. Commander Lewis led the human fleet as it moved through space with precision. Ships that had been hidden for years now traveled openly, their engines bright against the dark sky. Pilots who had trained in secret for decades finally put their skills to use. Every maneuver was practiced, every strike calculated. Humans moved not as individuals but as a single mind, each ship anticipating the next. The Zoroth tried to rally their forces. They called upon allies from other systems, hoping to crush humanity before it could expand further. Fleet commanders barked orders, but confusion spread quickly. Their spies had no information about the new human ships. Every tactic they had prepared seemed useless against humans who had already studied their every move in secret. On the front lines, humans began small strikes to weaken the enemy. Scouts attacked supply lines first, disabling fuel transports and resource carriers. Without supplies, the Zoroth fleet slowed, and their formations began to crumble. Human warships appeared unexpectedly from hidden positions, striking with speed and accuracy that alien admirals had never seen. Colonists watched in awe as human pilots demonstrated their skill. On distant planets, miners and engineers sent messages of encouragement. They knew every missile fired and every ship saved represented their hard work in secret facilities. Humans were no longer simply defending themselves. They were showing that intelligence, planning, and courage could defeat raw numbers. Commander Lewis coordinated attacks from the bridge of his flagship. His voice was calm, his orders clear. Do not rush. Force them to make mistakes. Use what we have learned. Every engagement brings us closer to victory. Pilots followed his words without hesitation. The human fleet moved like a single organism, striking, retreating, and striking again, always in control. The Zoroth struggled. Their admirals argued about tactics. Some wanted to attack directly, while others advised retreat. The humans anticipated both options. When the Zoroth tried to flank them, human scouts had already positioned ships in perfect counter formation. When the Zoroth retreated, human forces cut off their path, leaving them trapped between lines of attack. Even other alien species began to notice. Some secretly assisted humanity by giving information about Zoroth movements. Others decided not to interfere, realizing that supporting the Zoroth might be dangerous now. Humanity was becoming a force that others respected and feared. On Earth, council leaders watched the battles through communications channels. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair ships and improve weapons. Pilots returned from combat exhausted but determined. Every success gave them more confidence. Humans had waited for this moment for decades, and now it was here. Colonists in outer systems began to feel a new pride. Children who had grown up believing humans were weak now spoke of heroes. Teachers told stories of skill and courage. Communities worked together to provide support, knowing that every effort contributed to the overall strength of humanity. The Zoroth realized too late that their initial assumptions had been wrong. They had thought humans were weak, slow, and easy to intimidate. Instead, humans were fast learners, strategic thinkers, and fearless fighters. Every mistake the Zoroth made only strengthened humanity's position. After several days of battles, the Zoroth fleet suffered heavy losses. Their ships were damaged, their admirals frustrated, and their morale shattered. They had underestimated humans at every turn, and now the consequences were clear. The humans had not only defended themselves but had also begun to shape the war in their favor. Commander Lewis stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. He knew the galaxy was watching, that every species would remember these events. "We do not fight for glory," he said to his officers. "We fight to show that humanity cannot be ignored. We fight because we must survive. And every time we win, the galaxy learns that underestimating us is a mistake." The officers nodded. They had seen the strength of their people, the skill of their pilots, and the determination of their colonists. The turning point had come. Humans had transformed from a species thought weak to a force capable of challenging the greatest empires in the galaxy. The Zoroth fleet retreated, leaving behind broken ships and a shaken empire. Humanity's hidden armada had proven its power. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. The time of silence was over, and the humans who had been underestimated for so long had begun to shape the future of the stars. Even as battles continued in smaller sectors, the momentum had shifted. Humans now led the way, and the galaxy would have to follow. The hidden strength that had been carefully preserved for years had finally changed the balance of power forever. The galaxy had changed forever. After the battles, the Zoroth Empire had retreated to repair its fleet and regroup. Other alien species watched carefully, knowing that humans were no longer to be underestimated. The reputation of Earth and its hidden armada had grown quickly. Respect replaced doubt, and fear replaced mockery. Commander Lewis stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the stars. His eyes scanned the positions of human and allied fleets. "The galaxy now knows our strength," he said quietly. "We fought with intelligence, with patience, and with courage. Now we must use that strength to protect humanity and build a lasting future." Human fleets moved with precision, patrolling trade routes and protecting colonies. Ships that had once remained hidden now traveled openly, their presence a reminder to all species that Earth could defend itself. Even the smallest patrol carried advanced technology and well-trained crews, capable of facing challenges far larger than their size suggested. Colonists felt the change immediately. On Mars, miners who once worked under fear and restriction now smiled as ships passed overhead. On Europa, settlers no longer worried about raids, knowing that human fleets could respond quickly. Children learned about the battles in schools and listened to stories of courage and strategy. The pride of humanity grew in every colony. The Zoroth tried to rebuild their reputation, sending diplomats to negotiate with other powers. But the galaxy had already seen the truth. Many former allies of the Zoroth began to reconsider their positions. The humans had not only won battles, they had shown that they could think, plan, and strike with precision unmatched by any empire. Trust in the Zoroth diminished as humans gained influence. Commander Lewis held meetings with leaders from other species who had once doubted humanity. They came to see that humans were not only strong but also capable of cooperation. Lewis spoke calmly and firmly, "We do not wish to dominate the galaxy. We do not seek unnecessary war. Our goal is simple: safety for our people and respect for all who wish to live in peace." This message resonated with many alien species. They realized that humans were different from the empires that had ruled with fear and control. Humans had strength, but they also had patience, intelligence, and fairness. Slowly, a new alliance began to form, with humans at its center, not through intimidation, but through respect earned on the battlefield. Back on Earth, Council leaders reflected on how far humanity had come. From a species once underestimated, they had risen to become a power that could influence the galaxy. Every secret shipyard, every hidden training camp, and every quiet mission had led to this moment. Patience, planning, and courage had built a future stronger than any weapon alone could create. Colonists celebrated quietly but proudly. They understood that their work and perseverance had contributed to the success. Families gathered to watch broadcasts of the fleet in motion. Children drew pictures of ships and heroes, imagining themselves among the stars. Humanity's spirit, long underestimated, shone brighter than ever. The Zoroth, still recovering from their defeats, had no choice but to respect humans. Their empire remained large, but they now knew that arrogance could lead to ruin. They had assumed humans were weak, slow, and incapable. Instead, humans had proven that intelligence, strategy, and unity could defeat even the proudest of empires. Commander Lewis addressed his fleet one last time during the campaign. "We have shown the galaxy what humanity can do. This is not the end, but a beginning. We will continue to defend our people, to explore, and to grow. Every lesson learned and every victory earned has led us to this moment. Let the galaxy remember it always: humanity is strong, united, and prepared." The fleet responded with quiet determination. Ships moved together as a single entity, a symbol of unity and purpose. Humans no longer hid in the shadows. They had risen, revealing the strength that had always been there. Their hidden armada, once a secret, was now the cornerstone of a new order in the galaxy. Years later, the galaxy spoke of that day when humans revealed their true power. They told stories of strategy, courage, and patience. They spoke of how a species once overlooked became the center of influence and respect. Humanity's rise was not sudden, it had been carefully planned and executed with intelligence and discipline. Earth became a beacon of hope for other species. Humans had shown that strength was more than numbers and weapons. It was patience, learning, and unity. The hidden armada had proven that even those underestimated could rise to greatness. And so, the galaxy entered a new era. Humans, once the forgotten species, now stood among the greatest powers. The lesson was clear: never underestimate the quiet, never dismiss the patient, and never ignore the determined. Humanity had revealed itself, and the galaxy would never forget it.